Ever wanted a career in football? At the Global Institute of Sport, you can now study a master's degree in football business or football coaching and analysis right here in Australia. GIS is the largest provider of sports degrees in the UK, with campuses at Wembley and Etihad Stadium. Learn online with unique access to the iconic MCG and a big-hitting Australian industry network. Be one of the first Australians to get a football master's degree and join GIS's global network of football leaders. Apply now to start in February 2023. Learn more at gis.sport/FNR. That's gis.sport/FNR.
Sometimes I feel, I don't know.
Buona giornata, buona serata, buona giornata.
There's not really time to relax and take an espresso for Juventus.
You thought I forgot about you, didn't you? You thought I forgot about you, didn't you? Attaccare!
Welcome back to the Euro Show here on FNR Football Nation Radio. It's been a couple of weeks since we've graced our presence inside the studio, Josh. Many different reasons. COVID was the main one. Unfortunately, I was hit. I popped. I thought I was going to be gargantuan. I was going to survive this entire pandemic without ever testing positive. That threw a spanner into the works 1 week. And then we had 2 public holidays in a row. So we've had 3 weeks off.
Yeah,
there's no excuse for rustiness.
We have been refreshed, and we had to come back today because the show has a new presenting sponsor, Nick.
Yes, we are. We are proudly brought to you by the Global Institute of Sport, GIS. Make sure you head over to gis.sport/FNR. Head over there. Obviously, if you want to launch a global career in the football industry, study a master's degree in football business or coaching or analysis, they're the place to go. So head on over there. Obviously, you can apply now to start the start of next year. You can go to campus in some amazing places. Listen to this. If you're over in the UK, you can head over to Wembley, you can head over to the Etihad Stadium in Manchester, or you could do it very much here in Melbourne at the MCG. So pick your poison, to say the least. But head on over, gis.sport/FNR to learn more.
And earlier this year, we were running a campaign about their Masters of Football Business. They've still got that course running, but they've added another master's course that you can study here in Australia, which is football coaching and analysis. So it's all about not only classic regular coaching stuff, but also what's increasingly coming into the game, which is video analysis, data analysis, statistics, and so forth. So, you can specialize in those areas, and they're increasingly in demand. We see it at every A-League game and every MPL academy side now. They've got the guys who are got the walkie-talkies going and giving the coaches information from the top of the grandstand.
They got the VOs now as well.
I was watching Preston Lions versus Melbourne Victory. I was commentating that game from up on the commentary gantry, and next to me, 2 of the Victory analytics guys with the walkie-talkies down to the bench, entering their data and so forth. And every bloody club's got a VO these days doing tactical footage. So it's expanding. It's expanding all the way down into even grassroots levels of football.
Well, the VOs aren't always proficient, Josh, especially when they get knocked over. And I don't know, this is obviously not the MPL hour here on FNR Football Nation Radio, but if you were watching last Monday night at the Venantial Club, myself and former FNR colleague Ed Gooden were commentating that game, and the VO took a tumble. Unprompted. The ball didn't even hit it. It just took a tumble. So it's not always accurate. It's why you need the eyes always there,
I don't know if a safe VO usage is covered in the football master's degrees offered by GIS, but if you want to upskill yourself and kickstart your career in the football industry, be it coaching and analytics or be it the business side of football, head on over to gis.sport/FNR and find out more.
Absolutely. But Josh, let's get into some of the action. We're at the nitty-gritty part of the European football calendar. We're coming towards the end of not only the club leagues, obviously all the big leagues coming to an end, but obviously the Champions League, Europa League, Conference League. It's all happening at the moment. We're going to get through it all. We'll go to Champions League a little bit later on because obviously the semi-finals of all the 3 continental tournaments are this week. But let's start off with the weekend's action. And, well, there's only one title race still alive. And if you've been listening to the Euro Show for all this time, you'd know that this title race just continues to just amaze. And again, last week, it threw as my famous saying goes, another spanner into the works. And Inter dropped points in that much vaunted game in hand, Josh, against Bologna during the week. Their backup goalkeeper, Radu, letting the ball run past him. Bologna went on and won that game 2-1. Milan had to take full advantage, and they did just that. Obviously, they beat Lazio last week 2-1 in the dying minutes through Sandro Tonali. And again, they left it late this morning, beating Fiorentina 1-0. Inter did beat Udinese 2-1. It basically means now it's a two-horse race. Napoli is 7 points off, need a minor miracle to stay alive. Juventus, on the other hand, as well. Well, they can't win it, so thank God for that. But Milan and Inter, they're going head-to-head. We've got 3 games to go. We'll start off with the San Siro yesterday. This was a cracking game. Don't let the 1-0 scoreline fool you. This could have been easily, with some of the chances Milan missed in this game, 3 or 4-0. Some bad finishing, and it seemed like it was just going to be one of those games. But a mistake at the back, a really, really bad mistake from Pietro Terracciano, the Fiorentina goalkeeper, basically putting the ball on a platter for Rafael Leao, who went on in, scored the winner, got the job done. Another win in the bank for Milan. They're 7 points away. That's all they need. 7 more points to win their first Scudetto in 11 years. It's exciting times. And I tell you what, as a Milan fan right now, I am so excited right now.
Pietro Terracciano had an absolute nightmare on that goal. That clearance was horrendous, obviously.
Shocking.
The clearance was really bad. But after that, to let the ball in at your near post in such a hapless fashion, it wasn't even that he got wrong-footed entirely.
No.
It went the wrong way. He fell in slow motion. He went down in stages, as they say, when a player's, gone down too easily to try and win a penalty. He just sort of, it was like a falling tree. It was like a piece of lumber.
Yeah.
And
He got set the wrong way.
He looked ancient on that goal, I have to say. The guy, how old is he?
32.
He's not even that old for a goalkeeper.
Well, he's not even their number one goalkeeper. That's just to give a bit of context. They did drop Dragovski, who has been their number one goalkeeper most of the season. Terracciano's sort of come in recently and been that guy between the sticks. And it's a disappointing loss for Fiorentina because Fiorentina, they're on the brink of returning to Europe at the moment, albeit more than likely to be through the Europa League or the Conference League. And considering Roma dropped points, it was a good opportunity for them. They're on top of Atalanta now. They're in a really good position to attack the final few games of the season. They'd gotten a couple scalps, but they just couldn't hold on right at the end there. I mean, Milan, this was a Milan kind of game in every way it suited them because Fiorentina are a very progressive kind of team. They like to get on the front foot, like to win the ball high up the pitch. They like to press. And we know with Milan, they're not a team that play well against set defenses and teams that are going to sit back and frustrate. Milan are a team that like to play high octane off the break, and you let this team play off the break, they're going to hurt you, especially when they throw numbers forward up that left-hand side through Teo Hernandez and Rafael Leao, who are brilliant, but they just couldn't finish. I mean, Olivier Giroud somehow missed that chance inside the first half. I mean, Teo Hernandez had a great opportunity, decide to shoot instead of cross when he had 2 players open in the middle. Rafael Leao missed a great opportunity early in the first half as well. It just felt like, what is it going to take? The goal has to come, and finally it did. And Rafael Leao's had a great season, and you know what? That was such an important goal because if had Milan dropped that game, I mean, they still would have been in control of their destiny with a draw. But in saying that, it just adds that little bit more pressure if you're relying on head-to-head to get you through, and you really have to go through unblemished in the last 3 games. So, nonetheless, it's 3 points in the bag. It's another win for Milan. I mean, it was looking a bit precarious at one point after a couple 0-0 draws, but they've come out. They got a win against Genoa. They got a late win against Lazio. They got the win against Fiorentina. Inter were the team that fumbled the bag. They were the team looking like they were going to run on and win the league. But suddenly right now, Milan, with 3 games to go, are going to do it, I mean, against all odds. I tell you what, compared to some of these other teams they're going up against, this squad, we've said it all year, this squad has nowhere near the same quality as some of these other teams. But there is a real fighting spirit amongst this team, and they keep finding a way to get results.
There are a number of players in this side that I wouldn't normally have rated especially highly, but are seemingly performing above themselves, or the collective is more than the sum of the parts. Like Junior Messias, for example.
Wow. I've got my thoughts on Junior Messias.
Very, very negative about him, but he's had a consistent run on the side. The guy puts in a shift.
Yeah.
Obviously, you said the left-hand side is much more important for Milan. But it seems as if Stefano Pioli sees something in certain players that even the fans don't see, but they keep winning.
Yeah. Well, look, Messias has usurped Salamakers in the starting lineup. I think it's a I don't rate the move. I think Messias has some nice moments, but he goes missing. Like there'll be parts of the game where you just don't see him get on the ball because Milan is so dominant up the left-hand side. I don't know if it's really a game style kind of thing, but even in terms of, his presenting, his off-ball movement, it's not as good as Salamakers, who is so good at, creating his own channels and making his own space and getting in good areas. But you look at this team, I mean, Olivier Giroud leading the line kind of sums it up. Hard-working, doesn't always score, but he just keeps on running, keeps on going. I mean, he's basically played every minute, for the past few months. He's worked himself into the ground at 36 years old. The defense has been brilliant over the past 2 months. They've barely conceded a goal.
Is this the first time Olivier Giroud has been the first choice striker for his club team in quite a long time?
Probably since his Arsenal days.
Yeah. And even then, there were always question marks about whether he was the right guy, whether they should upgrade.
Well, he wasn't the number one guy heading into the season. It was Zlatan Ibrahimovic. But Zlatan, I mean, from the minutes I've seen Zlatan play recently, it's looking, it's sad to see. It's that point where that you got the veteran out there who just isn't contributing. Like, he's getting out on the pitch. Milan have thrown him on in back-to-back games to find the winner. He hasn't been able to get involved. I mean, he set up Tonali's winner against Lazio with a nice little flick, but hasn't had that same impact. But Giroud's getting involved. Like, I've got to give him credit. He's actually been a great signing for Milan this season. It was looking a bit iffy at the start because he was getting injuries and he wasn't contributing, but he's had some big moments. He's scored a lot of big goals against Inter, Napoli, Lazio. He's scored in some pretty big games. But there's a lot to like about this team. I mean, this is the foundation that will go forward. Milan actually, I don't know if you've seen these rumours, but Milan is set to be bought by a Bahraini company. So they're apparently going to invest almost $1 billion into Milan, which will be a massive cash injection to a team that obviously wants to get back to the heights of the 2000s and the 90s and, get back in amongst it among Europe's elite. But there's a lot to like going forward about where this team's going in the foundations. I mean,
is this the official end of the banter era?
The banter era, I think, ended it when they made Champions League last season. I think that next season it's going to be the proper coronation of them being back in amongst Europe's elite again.
Is this a season premature, this title charge,
yeah,
do you think?
100%. I honestly thought this team would be battling for Champions League this season, considering Mourinho at Roma. I thought Lazio and the Sardi were going to be hard to beat. I thought Atalanta were going to be a lot better this season. I thought Juve were going to win the league this season with Allegri back. They were going to, basically S-house their way to the title, and Inter were going to be still up in amongst it. Napoli, I thought Milan might get lost in the shuffle. But the way this team keeps finding a way to get results is amazing. I mean, you can point, at Inter and Napoli dropping points, but it's a consistency thing. This Milan team keeps finding a way with all the injuries they had earlier in the season and the way they've been able to battle through that. And even now, I mean, they lost Simon Kjær in defence, which really at that point, I know Alessio Romagnoli, but he hasn't been great this year. That's a big loss in terms of leadership and also the way they defend. And some of the guys that have slotted in, Pierre Kalulu has really come from nowhere and has formed a brilliant partnership with Fikayo Tomori. They've only conceded 4 goals together as a partnership, and 3 of them were in one game against Inter. Other than that, this team in almost every other area, this 11, I think bar Franck Kessie, who's gone, and to be honest, I'm glad he's gone. And he's the only one I think shouldn't be playing right now for Milan. I know Ismail Benacer was coming back from an injury, but should be starting ahead of Kessie, because sometimes I look at Kessie and I think he looks like he's phoning it in a little bit at the moment because he knows he's leaving. But most of this lineup is going to be there again next season. And some of the investment that they're hoping to have in some areas is quite exciting. I mean, if they can bring in Renato Sanchez, which looks like a done deal in midfield, is a good replacement for Kessie. Sven Botman as well from Lille in defence. As well, someone like Gianluca Scamacca up front as well looked like he's going to be the replacement for Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who I think will retire at the end of the season. And then maybe on the right-hand side, someone like Domenico Berardi's looked at as well. So there are some exciting players and some exciting parts moving at the moment. But let's have a look at the last 3 games, because Milan and Inter right now, and Inter as well, 2-1 winners in a very tough Tough place to go win against Udinese. Very, very tough win for them. They were tested. They got the job done. They just had to win that game to stay alive. But the next 3 games are massive. Milan, they take on Hellas Verona on the road, which is not an easy game.
Nope.
So Atalanta at home, and Atalanta have not been in good form as of late, so that actually suits Milan. And then Sassuolo away, who historically have been Milan's bogey team from the second they got promoted. They have always been Milan's bogey team. And those 3 games aren't easy, but Milan seem to thrive against these kind of teams, these better teams that like to play progressive football, because it allows Milan to sit off the break and hit them with ferocity, the way Milan like to play when they attack. Inter, on the other hand, Empoli at home, midweek Coppa Italia final against Juventus, an away trip to Cagliari, who are battling relegation. We know when you play these relegation battlers, they can get a bit tough, and then the final game against Sampdoria at home. On paper, it's a much easier run for Inter, but in terms of what these teams are going to do, they're going to frustrate the hell out of Inter with the way they play. It's going to be on Inter to make something happen. It's going to be a really, really intriguing 3 weeks to see what happens here and whether Milan will slip up again, because Inter need to go through unblemished from here on out.
Is there an argument to suggest that Inter are actually the best team in the league and they've just choked here?
Yeah.
I mean,
they have.
They've scored by far the most goals in the league. Just actually Lazio 1 goal, a few goals behind them. But, anyone else is miles away from their 74 and 35. They conceded, I believe, the fewest goals.
Yeah, by 1.
I mean, they're more talented than Milan on paper.
More depth as well.
Much more depth. I guess they're an older squad, which has played a part. But why do you think they're behind in this title race?
Drop points at key moments.
But why did they drop those points?
Well, it was an interesting part because there was that portion in around February where I think the fixtures started to pile up. They played when Liverpool were coming around and a lot of midweek games. So I don't think the rotation was there. I think they stuck a lot with an 11 that suited Inzaghi's system. Didn't rotate things a hell of a lot. And they got worked out. I mean, that's the one thing about Inter. This team are good. They are very good. But when they're off, they're off. Like there's this. It's a weird dichotomy between Inter and Milan, because Milan's bad can be really bad, but they still find a way to get something from the game. But when Inter are off, they're really off.
Are they volatile from a kind of temperament perspective?
Absolutely as well. But look,
I'm shocked that a squad containing Vidal and Sanchez
and Ivan Perisic and all those types, Edin Dzeko. Look, there is a lot of talent in this team, but in saying that, it's. But you look at it from the other side as well. Milan have dropped points against some really bad teams as well this year, against teams like Salernitana and against Udinese and against Spezia. They've dropped points against teams they shouldn't have. It's just felt like who could have stayed. I'm trying to think of the right word here. Who could stay in the fight for longer? And just when the pressure's on, you need to get those points on the board. Who's going to break? And I just think Inter's mentality in some of those key games, like look at the Bologna game during the week. Why were they playing their backup goalkeeper in a game like that? I know Handanovic had back soreness, and I know that he's an older goalkeeper. But my God, it's the end of the season. You'd think, football manager spec right here, right? Jab him up, get him out there. It's 90 minutes. Like you need to make sure you get your best team out there for these sort of games. And goalkeeper it's not like, you're replacing, Lautaro Martinez with Joaquin Correa, who's played a lot of football this year. You're playing a guy who has not played a minute this season in a crunch game. And the guy choked in the biggest game of their season. This was the much vaunted game in hand, or Inter have this game in hand. This game in hand is what's going to be the difference. And they dropped it. And right now, when you look at it, in 3 weeks' time, when we look at this and we look at the wash-up and we see who's won it, that could be the game that costs them. Because for the most part, these two teams have gone neck and neck this entire year. Same amount of losses, just that one extra draw. So it goes to show that just in some of those games, Milan, but also to Milan's credit, they always find a way. Like they've pinched a lot of games late, gotten a lot of points late, wins or draws. This team never says die. Inter, and sometimes some of these games, they've been a bit brittle.
That Radu era doesn't get any better the more you watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, for people who haven't seen it, it's a throw in by Perisic. He throws it all the way back to his goalkeeper. Sansone is pressing him, and he tries to just pass it across the 6-yard box calmly with his left foot.
Which is something you never do as a goalkeeper. You never sweep.
Well,
it's such a risk to sweep because you sweep as a goalkeeper. You're putting yourselves in a situation where the ball
you're talking
can come back
technique,
across.
right? Okay, right. I thought you meant
Where
come out as a sweeper
sweep.
keeper. I'm like, it's pretty important.
No, you can sweeper keep. I'm saying in terms of your technique.
Yeah.
The one thing that goalkeepers are taught is that when the ball's coming back to you in that situation, you never sweep because there's every chance that, you don't, obviously,
For the podcast listeners, it's passing across your body. So
if the ball's coming at you,
the ball's rolling to him from his left, and he tries to pass it with his left foot across to the right. And the fact that he doesn't just readjust, open himself up and use his right foot to redirect the ball.
Swings his leg at it.
He just swings his leg, completely swings and misses, and basically just Sansone is left with a 1 or 10 centimetre tap in. It's one of the worst mistakes in a big game that I've ever seen.
But that's why, what's the harm in conceding a throw in there by just clearing it out if you're under pressure? Like, you just bomb it away. You're under the pump. Okay, I know you want to live and die by the philosophy of, okay, you've got a centre back out the other side. It's a risky pass to make any stage, but you're on your goal line. That can go so wrong, and we saw what happened there. So I hope that's a lesson to any young goalkeepers out there that are watching. I'm not a goalkeeper, but I know this is just a fact. It's like it's like what we taught when we played. Never pass across goal. It is such a risky thing to do when you're passing across goal. If you're not hitting that ball with venom, there's every chance that ball's going to get intercepted. It's like the same thing. Got to remember, as a goalkeeper, you can't afford to have that, because you know what's behind you. You're going to concede a goal. And in Radul's case, I've got to give Radul credit. When I watched him when he was out on loan at Genoa, very, very talented goalkeeper. Everyone has a brain fade, but in that moment, thrown into a pressure cooker as a young goalkeeper in a game like that. I know Samir Handanovic has his critics, and he won't be their number one next year when Onana comes in, but I don't see Handanovic making a mistake like that. As a veteran goalkeeper, understanding the ball's coming back to you, just clear it. So anyways,
I want to talk about Napoli before we move on. They're out of the title race pretty much. So, there's no realistic way that they can win it. I mean, even if it is
barring a
mathematically
unbelievable
possible. It is mathematically possible, but they are 7 points off with 3 games to go, and there's 2 teams ahead of them. So it's just not going to happen. As soon as the pressure's off, they beat Sassuolo 6-1.
This team, you talking about volatile? Napoli in a nutshell.
I mean, at their best, Napoli are the best team in the league.
You can make a very good argument for that.
That's what I'm precisely what I'm doing.
But you can obviously make when you really nut it out. You can
at their best. At their best, Napoli, I think, are by far the best team, but they've rarely hit their best this season.
Napoli, in the words of Giorgio Chiellini, that he said, of that famous win against, Tottenham, it's in the Tottenham DNA. It's in the Napoli DNA to choke.
These 3 of the Napoli.
Yeah. It is in the history
sometimes
of the Napoli.
Maybe good.
Yep. Sometimes maybe shit, to quote their former boss. They choke. They have done this season on season. The amount of opportunities they had to usurp Juve, all those chances when Juve won 9 Scudetto in a row. They had chance after chance after chance after chance. And when Juve would stuff up, it'd be like, okay, come on, please now, Napoli, don't stuff this up. And they'd stuff it up. Like some of the losses they've had this season, like you look at their last game prior to the Sassuolo game, 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go against Empoli, lost 3-2.
Yeah, goals in the 80th, 83rd and 87th minutes after they had a 2-0 cushion. They could still be in this if they'd won that game.
You look at some of the big games, dropped points against Milan at home, dropped points against Fiorentina at home, dropped points against Roma at home, dropped points against Inter at home, dropped points against Juve on the road. There are a lot of these games. Atalanta, Empoli, they've lost against Empoli twice.
They failed to beat 10-man Roma.
Yeah, there are a lot of these games that are just going to come back and bite them. They have a great coach. They have a great squad. It's all up here with them. They've got all the talent to get it done. And there's not an excuse about depth anymore because they have the depth now. They've invested in depth. I know Victor Osimhen's missed quite a bit of football this season, but he's played a lot more than he did last year. I know that, they've lost some players at key moments. They lost Koulibaly to AFCON, but so did Milan. I mean, they lost,
and know he's going to go to AFCON. It's
absolutely
not a surprise. You got to plan around these things.
Milan lost Benacer. They lost Kessie. They still found a way. Milan lost Simon Kjaer in defence. They still found a way. Inter lost some key players. They still found a way to stay in contention. This is no excuse for Napoli right now. Spalletti gets it's not a situation I don't think Spalletti will be fired or anything like that at the end of this season. They didn't win it. End of the day, Napoli's playing Champions League football. It's a tick. They're back in the Champions League. That's important. But next season, they can't afford to do this again. I mean, how many seasons can you go without not winning it. And, you can only expect Milan and Inter are going to improve. If Inter as well find some new owners, you can only expect Juve to improve in the off-season and some of the other teams in the chasing pack.
The fact that they haven't won it, where pretty much every traditional big power in the league is out of form at the moment. Like, Milan and Napoli, Milan and Inter, they're good sides, but they're not at their pomp. They've had much better teams in the past.
Absolutely,
they're at almost a historic low, and Juventus the same.
This is like the second Napoli golden generation post Maradona. Like this is their best period, over the past decade. This little portion, this period of time.
Not Sarri ball.
Well, I'm including Sarri ball, including this
okay, the Higuain thing.
Yeah, from Higuain era coming into this period. This has been the Lorenzo Insigne era, to probably put it. And this is the end of the Insigne era. He's got 3 more games at Napoli and he's off to the MLS. I mean, you could also probably call it the Dries Mertens era as well. All these guys are getting older. It's a new Napoli team starting to come through. There's going to have to be some significant investment, I think, at least defensively as well. Because, look, Koulibaly is a great defender, but the guys around him, I like Mario Rui and Di Lorenzo, but in centre-back, they're a bit weak. I still think, if they're relying on guys like Rahmani, who I think's not bad, but Axel Tuanzebe, Juan Jesus, Costas Manolis left. Where is the depth there? And whether Koulibaly stays, he's linked to a move every off-season. And you think, unless he's ridiculously loyal to this club, which I think he is, that, maybe one day that move will happen. So they've got to find a way. They've got to find a way.
Might have sailed for Koulibaly.
But also as well, they've got to find a replacement.
30. How is Kalidou Koulibaly 30 and he's still at Napoli?
But he's still in ridiculous form for his age.
He's fantastic, but he's got one more big contract left realistically, and I guess whenever his deal expires, that's when he might leave. But I don't know if a top club will consider it a worthwhile investment to say, here's the massive transfer fee you're looking for in Napoli. Here's the huge pile of money we have to pay Koulibaly, even if he's one of the best defenders in the world.
Look, you feel for Insigne that his time at Napoli ends without any silverware, other than a Coppa Italia. I think that's all he has. That's disappointing for a guy that has been one of Italy's best players for the past decade. They've got to find a replacement for him. They really need to find a replacement. It's not Politano. Elmas I really like, but I don't think that he's of the same ilk as Insigne.
I also don't necessarily think Elmas is a winger.
They do deploy him out there sometimes, but I like
him as a 10.
Yeah, but also Mertens is getting older too. He's not getting any younger. He's about 34 now. Elmas will come in and I think eventually and usurp him, or they'll look to invest somewhere else. I think, a lot of these players that they did beat down on in Sassuolo, I look at their front line, just quickly before we go to a break, that front line is going to be pillaged in the off-season, between Scamacca, Berardi, Raspadori, Boga, Traore. There are so many of these guys that if you don't know them now, you will know them in the next little period of time, because they're going to be on the radar all off-season of teams like Napoli, Milan, Juventus, Inter. I think that literally, I saw this article that I think Milan, Inter, Juventus and Napoli have one of the attackers lined up for each team. So it's Scamacca potentially to Inter, Raspadori to Juventus, Berardi to Milan, and I think Traore potentially to Napoli. It's ridiculous because they're going to lose everyone and they're going to use that money and probably then go and find the next lot of these young stars to come through. We speak about great, football factories in Italy, like with Atalanta, Sassuolo. Low-key, you're another one in that same ilk. But anyways, Josh, we'll take a short break. But obviously, before we get to that, going forward for next week, keep an eye on this title race. Everyone, please, at home, you want to see some good football. Other than the Premier League title race, there's another one happening right here. There's going to be a lot of twists and turns this weekend. We'll preview some of those games a little bit later, and we'll let you know those times a little later in the show. But we'll take a short break here on the Euro Show. When we come back, we'll chat some Champions League. Getting quite exciting as well. And obviously, with the Europa League and Conference League finals, you're listening here to the Euro Show, brought to you by GIS, the Global Institute of Sport.
Ever wanted a career in football? At the Global Institute of Sport, you can now study a master's degree in football business or football coaching and analysis right here in Australia. GIS is the largest provider of sports degrees in the UK, with campuses at Wembley and Etihad Stadium. Learn online with unique access to the iconic MCG and a big-hitting Australian industry network. Be one of the first Australians to get a football master's degree and join GIS's global network of football leaders. Apply now to start in February 2023. Learn more at gis.sport/FNR. That's gis.sport/FNR.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Sometimes I feel, I don't know.
Buona giornata, buona serata, buona giornata.
There's not really time to relax and take an espresso for Juventus.
You don't have to get about you, didn't you? You don't have to get about you, didn't you? Attaccare!
Welcome back to the Euro Show here on FNR Football Nation Radio, brought to you by GIS, Global Institute of Sport. Obviously, if you want to launch your global career in the football industry, make sure you head over to www.gis.sport/FNR. Obviously, some great football coaching courses in there, also in football business. You can learn online or even have some unique access to the MCG. I mean, if you're in Melbourne, what better place to go learn about all the intricacies of sport than at the home of sport here in Melbourne at the MCG? Or even you can study abroad. I mean, that's the other option as well. If you're interested and you're overseas or even potentially in the UK, you can go to some of their UK campuses at Wembley. Yes, you heard that correctly. I am not talking about Wembley Park in Box Hill. I'm talking about Wembley Stadium in the smack bang middle of London. Or if you're further north, you can head over to the Etihad Stadium in Manchester.
And they're the largest provider of sports degrees in the UK. So they know what they're doing and they're adapting their program to the Australian sporting context and environment. So they've built up this network here in Australia of industry-leading people who come in as guest speakers, and they've got placements with all these different sporting organisations and teams. So it is the best place to kickstart your career in the football industry, be it their Masters of Football Business degree or their degree in football coaching and analysis.
Want to learn more? Head over to gis.sport/FNR. Anyways, let's move on. Let's get into more of the action from the weekend before we dive into some Champions League. Big games on Wednesday and Thursday morning with the second leg of the Champions League semis. And one of those teams wrapped up the La Liga title this weekend. Well, I think they did it technically last week, but I think this week was just the insurance policy to make sure it was all wrapped up. Real Madrid, champions of Spain, no surprise there. 4-0 winners against Espanyol, going into a massive semi-final in Madrid against Manchester City. They won 4-3 that first leg, but a nice little tune-up for that one. They played a lot of the bench, a bit of their reserves, rotated the squad a little bit. You saw the likes of Mariano Diaz getting some minutes. Danny Ceballos even saw some minutes. Marcelo.
I didn't even realise Ceballos was still playing for Real Madrid until I saw him come on against Manchester City in the Champions League. Isco was on the pitch. Obviously, they brought Benzema and Vasquez. So they really rotated. Casemiro was playing centre-back.
Yep.
But it's good to see him fit again, so he will play in the second leg for Real Madrid as they look to overturn that one-goal deficit against Manchester City. But you should have seen the celebrations after they bloody lost against City. El Chiringuito was going off.
Yes, they were. And I'll tell you what, if that was, them going off, what are they going to be doing on Wednesday morning or Thursday morning, if they get past City?
I mean, Thomas Roncero, he was delighted. He was basically had his shirt, waving around his head, even though they lost 4-3.
Yeah.
It's hilarious the kind of, I was going to say delusion, but it's not really a delusion if they keep bloody winning this competition, is it? It's incredible the sense of kind of entitlement that they have.
Yeah. And you get this sense that Pep's voices are going to start speaking to him at some point. If it's not in the semi, it's going to be in the final.
Because they were so delighted that they were still in the tie because they were Manchester City wiped the floor with them. Yeah. But there seemed to be this predestined, almost mystical aura around the club that the Champions League is their competition, whatever happens. And there's nothing that Pep or Manchester City can do to change that. So they're fully buying in. They're fully high on their own supply, Real Madrid, and they've won La Liga. They think they're going to win the Champions League. But the defining image of this season, I think, was Mr. Carlo Ancelotti on top of the rooftop bus parade with his cigar.
Yep. Well, they could celebrate for that little bit right now, but obviously the focus has to turn to the Champions League on Thursday morning. That's the second leg. As mentioned, City 4-3 winners. Sorry, I got that one wrong a little bit early. Wrong way around. Thought for a second I was like, no, City did win the first leg. Madrid.
It didn't feel like they won,
no,
though.
It didn't. It felt like Madrid won because it was like, you know what it was like? It's like in the NBA playoffs when it's a clinching game on the road and it's like, okay, we win this and we finish off the series, but the team wins at home, makes it say 3-2, and it's like, okay, but we have game 6 or we have game 7 at home. We're going to wipe the floor with you guys. You've just given us your best punch. You haven't knocked us out entirely. We've still got the advantage. I mean, Madrid are down, but we saw what they did against PSG in a half. We saw what they did in this game, not even playing that great, and they still were able to stay in this game. I think they're going to get it done. I genuinely think that they're going to beat City in this game. And I think, to be honest, I don't know if this is just me going off history with Pep Guardiola in big games, but he's going to do something stupid. You know that he's going to do something. It's like the famous Simpsons meme. You know he's going to do something. You're just waiting for him to do it.
Everybody watch. She's about to do something stupid.
At 4 a.m. or whenever the lineups come out on Thursday morning, I am ready to see some ridiculous squad selection like, Raheem Sterling playing as a 6 or, or Kevin De Bruyne has been deployed as a left back or something like that because he's had this epiphany in his sleep from someone just not realizing that dreams sometimes mean nothing and said, no, play Kevin De Bruyne at left back. No, play play Oli Zinchenko there. He's your guy. Don't overthink this, Pep. You've got the advantage. Just get it done, man.
This is like peak galaxy brain Guardiola areas in a crunch match in the Champions League where he thinks he needs to do some sort of genius level tactical maneuver when City simply have the best players and they have the best team. And if they just play the best players in the proper positions and do their thing,
then they'll probably win.
They're more than likely to beat Madrid at the Bernabeu. If they can remove the emotion and approach this game rationally, but Pep Guardiola doesn't seem to be able to do that in these moments because he's got this neurosis about him. It was amazing watching his reaction when they didn't go up 3-0. It was someone missed a chance. I think it might have been Mahrez. And his reaction was pretty much the same as when Tottenham knocked him out of the Champions League. Do you remember Raheem Sterling's winning goal getting ruled offside by VAR and he just fell to his knees and head in his hands? He basically had the same reaction to Mahrez missing an opportunity to put City 3-0
because
up.
You know why? It's the famous saying, when you got your foot on the throat, you can't let off. Like you got to knock them while they're down. Like
but
you can't let them back into it.
So much better. They are much better than this Madrid team.
I mean,
they're on a different planet.
But there was
a message that went around in our group chat during the game. I think Ante Jukic was saying, "How is this not 26-1? How are Madrid still in this?"
You just know, like.
That was coming from the world's biggest Luka Modric fan.
But the longer City keep Madrid in this, the more it's going to suit Madrid. If City don't put this game away early, it's going to suit Madrid. I mean, they've got guys that can change a game just like that. Karim Benzema, Luka Modric, Vinicius Junior. They've got guys that can win it for them off their own boot. And Casemiro coming back, I mean, he didn't play the last leg. That's a big in. You'd think he comes in for Valverde, and Cruz might shift out to the right.
But Cancelo is back for this one.
Yeah, so that's obviously the big one because John Stones got hurt in that leg. I'm not too sure if he's back.
I don't think it matters because Cancelo and Zinchenko will be the fullbacks.
Yeah, so I don't think Stones will be starting ahead of Diaz or Laporte. But
no, Jones played Stones. Sorry, John Stones. I
was going to say,
I contracted
condensed,
it. I've condensed his name. John Stones started at right back and got injured, came off, and they brought on Fernandinho at right back because they didn't have any other fullbacks fit. Cancelo was out, Kyle Walker out, of course. So, I mean, he immediately came on and provided a beautiful assist. And you're thinking, oh, wow, Fernandinho rolling back the clock. What a beautiful cross that was. And then the next play basically was him getting left in the dust by Vinny Jr. and he looked so old.
Yeah.
He looked like he should have a walker with him. Like he should be in a wheel. Like it was hilarious trying to watch him run back for that one. He was just gone. And, you know, Vinny Jr. ran from the ball with the ball from the halfway line all the way and scored.
Yeah.
So it was just a stupid goal to concede. And I think it was bad defending as well by Laporte. He just didn't come over to try and block the shot. He just let Vinny Jr. run all the way because he was afraid he was going to square it to Karim Benzema. And maybe that's the gravitational pull that Karim Benzema has at the moment.
Well, Josh, let's get a prediction.
City are going to win.
You don't think Guardiola's going to have a brainworm and he's just going to do something stupid? Do you think they're going to get to the final?
I do. I think, barring, Karim Benzema virtuoso performance, like a hat trick or something, but barring that, I think City have more than enough to win this game. I think, you can never count out Real Madrid in the Champions League, but every rational, logical part of my brain is saying, Real Madrid simply cannot compete with this City team when they're on song, and you're not going to have an almost freakish level game that almost felt it was scripted to keep Madrid in it. I was worried that I was watching a rigged contest. It looks like it'd been blocked like a wrestling match just to keep it interesting. I don't think that can happen again. I think City are going to win this game and they're going to get to the Champions League final. I think they're going to win the Champions League final.
I don't know.
Liverpool.
It is in the history of Pep Guardiola. I don't know. Look, I think it's going to be an intriguing watch. It's going to be so intriguing. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like, whatever happens in this game, I think it's going to be bonkers. Like, it's not going to be a boring 1-0.
No.
It's going to be just like the first leg. I'm expecting
this is the best game of the year.
I think this will go to extra time. Like,
this is the best game of the European
absolutely.
season.
And we haven't had many.
The UEFA Champions League semi-finals are the best games of the European calendar.
Yeah.
Because the final, there's all this anxiety involved for both teams.
And it usually grinds to a bit of a boring 1-0.
You don't usually get a classic in the final. But the semi-finals and this two-legged format where the best team usually does win, but, there's some incredible comebacks. It's the perfect time because it's all of the best teams in Europe coming up against each other over two legs. And they've been really open and attacking games in recent seasons. And UEFA for some reason, has got it in their head that they have to change this format back to the COVID 2020 Final Four one-off game format, which was good at the time, sure, but we had nothing.
We had to rush. I mean, it was just getting it done.
Lockdown.
I know.
Like,
we take anything at that point.
Exactly.
We're watching, Belarusian Premier League and, watching, we were so caught up on, replays and Football Manager. It was like, football.
And it's
nice.
But that compared to what we have again, and what we had is nothing. It's garbage. So
why are we changing it?
It's absolutely bonkers to me. The fact that they want to maybe they're putting this Swiss system in place. We know this is like a second group stage almost, which is the most boring part of the competition. So they're extending the most boring part of the competition and they're contracting the most entertaining part of the competition. And I'm pulling my hair out because they're ruining the best competition in the world. They're ruining it.
It's very, very annoying. It's very annoying. Because, as you mentioned, we've seen so many classic semis over the year. I mean, you only have to think back to 2019, the Tottenham Ajax tie.
Corner taken quickly.
Liverpool Barca, it's disappointing. It's really disappointing if that does come to fruition. But if we're going to go out with a bang with these semis, let's hope that, we get a good second leg between Madrid and City. I genuinely think we will. The one that I don't think we're going to get a good semi in, I'm hoping there is a bit of life in the Yellow Submarine. They're down 2-0, lost the first leg against Liverpool. They're now at home. Are you giving them any hope? I don't think they're going to win, but they're going to make it interesting. I think they're going to make it interesting. Unai Emery's got something on that blackboard. He's got something.
Has Unai Emery ever made a game entertaining?
Yeah, but just need to get one.
He's a good tactician. I don't
got to
doubt
get
it.
one to get back into it, and suddenly we've got a game.
I mean, this is a team made up of Bournemouth rejects. So like the fact that they've made it to the Champions League semi-finals is an
amazing,
achievement in itself. And they didn't have their leading striker in this game. So
I don't think he's back either. To be honest, both Morenos I don't think are going to be back.
Yeah,
for this
Gerard
game.
Moreno, of course.
I don't think Albert Moreno's allowed to play against Liverpool. To be honest, I think that he's
it's a violation of his long-term loan agreement. No.
I think definitely. I think Liverpool win this, but I wouldn't be surprised if Villarreal make it tight. I don't think Liverpool's going to blow them. They're going to blow the bloody doors off. I think it's going to be pretty tight.
I like that. I don't think Villarreal ever basically venture beyond the conservative, and that's what makes them hard to beat. I just don't see it, to be honest. I think Liverpool are just too strong. The most interesting thing about these Liverpool performances is it raises the question of, when they get to the Champions League final, what's their best midfield? Who starts? Is it Naby Keita? Is Thiago in there? Is Sadio Mane playing through the middle, and is Luis Diaz in their best 11 now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it looks like he is, to be honest. I mean, Firmino's out.
Potentially the signing of the season for me.
He's been fantastic. He's been absolutely fantastic.
At least out of the January window. I can't think of a more impactful signing.
Well, I mean, for me, if you're picking a midfield,
maybe Kieran Trippier at Newcastle.
If you're picking a best midfield, Josh, I think you got to start Thiago. I think Thiago has to play. I mean, the form he's been in recently has been just sensational. It begs the question, why hasn't he been playing more? Well, we know why, because he's not necessarily a Klopp profile in terms of he's not a Gini Wijnaldum type. But you'd think Fabinho.
He's always injured as well.
Yeah, you'd think Fabinho and probably is he going to go Jordan Henderson?
It has to be.
Yeah, I think he'll go. Yeah, so that's probably going to be the three that will go with that game, and I think that will probably. I think they'll go in basically unchanged from the last leg. It'll be disappointing if this sort of just grounds out and Liverpool just sort of just fall in, because I'm going to have a bit of a controversial opinion here, Josh. But let's go back and have a look. Other than the Barca one, I mean, actually no, I don't know if this is I think that probably I'm being a bit maybe salty because I'm a Milan fan and I've seen Liverpool do too much damage in the Champions League to me, and I don't like seeing them do well in the Champions League. But I was going to say, have they really they've always seemed to get very favourable draws in the Champions League. Bar the Barca tie in 2019.
It was Roma.
2018, they got Roma that knocked Barcelona off with the famous Manolas goal.
The Greek
and they almost still lost that tie because Roma came surging back at the Olympico. And then 2019, they found 20 minutes or 40 minutes of brilliance to beat Barcelona. But it seems like they get some favourable ties. I mean, they've played Benfica.
They played Inter. That was
they've had a tough round of 16, but
that wasn't an easy tie. Like the scoreline in the first leg made it look easier than it was. And Inter, remember, before the red card, was screaming back into that game. Martinez scores that wonder goal. And, Alexis Sanchez doesn't get sent off 2 minutes later.
As I said, Josh, maybe I'm just being salty.
Look, Benfica's a lucky draw. You can't say it's not. And then Villarreal, you can say that's a lucky draw, but Villarreal beat Bayern Munich and Juventus to get here. So
but Juventus suck, man.
Yeah, okay. Well, they beat Bayern Munich.
I know.
And Bayern Munich were many people's tips to win the whole thing.
I'll give you that.
So if Bayern Munich does the business against Villarreal and Liverpool get Bayern, then this argument doesn't exist.
Yeah, potentially. But I'm talking about history, Josh. Like 2018, they got Porto, beat them 5-0 over 2 legs. They got City, and City weren't great in that title. They got spanked 5-1.
Yeah, but that was a pretty significant performance.
Yeah, and then they beat Roma 7-6 on aggregate. 7-6.
That was great. That was such a good tie.
That was great. I'm sorry, I miss that Roma team so much. But anyways, look, again, I'm probably just sounding salty and I just want to piss off some Liverpool fans. But in saying that...
Hey, they beat Milan in the group stage.
Well, they did. You know. But hey, look, they almost bottled it at Anfield. You know, they conceded 2 shots and there was 2 goals. And we're not going to go down... I mean, maybe Milan now wouldn't have let in 3. But nonetheless, I think we're going to get a Liverpool versus Real Madrid final. We're running it back to 2018.
Liverpool City for mine.
Boring, man.
We're getting boring.
It's boring.
The two best teams in the world.
Who wants to see Liverpool City, man?
Everyone wants to see Liverpool City. Are you crazy? What are you smoking? Did you watch the Liverpool City Premier League match?
Yeah, but we want to...
Did you watch the FA Cup semi-final?
Yes.
Were those, and all 3 of the times they've met this season have been incredible matches. Incredible. Incredible. In the words of Pep Guardiola. Incredible.
This might just be me because I don't want a Premier League team to be guaranteed to win the Champions League.
This is just your anti-Premier League bias.
It's not anti-Premier League. It's just pro-Serie A, right? I'm over Serie A being...
It's anti-English bias.
No. There's no biases here, Josh. It's just I want to see something different for a change. Not really.
What, like Real Madrid?
No. Let me
something
change
different, like Real Madrid winning the Champions League.
Villarreal to do the... If Villarreal beat Liverpool... Okay, then
we get a trash final.
If Villarreal wins against Liverpool... I don't give a crap if it's going to be a trash final. Villarreal beating Liverpool would be absolutely hilarious.
I've heard some incredible stuff from you today.
But no, seriously, in a hypothetical world, in some universe out there in the multiverse, whatever the hell's going on.
Getting through. It's not going to happen.
Josh, just for 1 second, please. If Villarreal get through, how funny would it be to see Liverpool golf up a 2-0 lead and go out against a provincial Villarreal team and they come out and they beat them like 3-0 at home? It would be amazing. It would be great.
I think if we want the best final for the neutral, Liverpool versus Man City is the one. And because it's 2 teams who play attacking football every time.
Okay.
It's one of the best.
All right.
It's one of the best title rivalries we've ever seen in the Premier League.
About bloody time.
Yeah, yes, that's...
I
don't disagree. Yeah. But you rewind to the great ones and a lot of those games were... pretty terrible. Like Arsenal versus Manchester United even is probably the one everyone harks back to. But a lot of those games, like Ferguson mucked them up quite...
I mean, United City 2012.
Yes. That was
probably the last great one.
That was a great title race. But Liverpool City went down to the wire.
2019. Yeah. But City were never going to lose it. They're always going to win. They had Brighton on the last day and it was like, what's the chance of City bottling this?
Brighton made it.
Brighton lost like 4-1.
Yeah, but they were in the game for a bit.
Yeah, for like 10 minutes.
They're in the game.
I remember staying
we're not just talking about last day of the season,
Anyways.
but the course of the year. There's been some good title races, and there's going to be another one right to the wire this year. So I think the 2 best teams in the world playing the most modern football, I would say. Like 2 teams who press really high and play through the lines. They're very different, of course. But they both have modernised football in the way that they play it. And, City, I've talked about them being a little bit bland at times. Their dominances can be a bit bland. But when it comes to the Champions League and you've got Pep's neurosis, or when it comes to the Premier League when they're playing Liverpool and Liverpool can actually beat them at their own game, those are some of the most absorbing contests and some of the best football you're likely to see. So I'll be very happy with the Liverpool City final.
Before we go, Josh, I just want to give a quick shout out to our boys over in Scotland. The Old Firm last night, 1-1. Celtic missed the chance to wrap it up. And also congratulations to Ange Postecoglou, who was labelled Scottish Coach of the Year. Very much well deserved. I mean, you know who he was going up against? Mulkey Mackay. Do you remember Mulkey Mackay?
I remember his text messages.
Yes, I remember that. And then remember there was that like protest period where they used to chant, "Don't sack Mackay, Mulkey Mackay," because all the Cardiff fans didn't want him sacked at the time. And then we all found out that what he really is like behind the scenes. But Celtic 6 points clear with, I think, 3 games to go. They really could have wrapped it up last night. Unfortunately, they didn't. They had the lead. It looked like they were on their way. Jota with the goal, but then Fashion Sakala, what a name, Fashion Sakala, with an equaliser in the second half to ensure that Rangers would just extend it for that little bit longer. Just say, you're not getting there just yet. But I think that one more win, I'm pretty sure is it goal difference in Scotland or is it head-to-head? Probably is goal difference. If Celtic beat Hearts on Saturday or Sunday, Celtic will be Scottish champions yet again. So quite exciting. But you know what? Like we've seen
draw's a good result.
turns. I mean, it's not the end of the world yet for Celtic, but up against Hearts, who are third. And if we ask Lockie Flanagan, he'll be saying, you know what? We're going to extend it for another week. We're going to make it even more interesting. I'm excited for this one, Josh.
Yes, I think it's going to be a good match. Celtic Rangers. Celtic were actually second best in that one, and they were a little bit fortunate to get the point. But I think they'll be very happy with it because really they just needed to maintain the gap to Rangers. That's all they needed to do. Yep. Yes, it would have been nice to win it and clinch it in an Old Firm game. It would have been amazing. But yeah, I think Celtic will be relatively pleased with the draw. The way you saw Postecoglou go across to Van Bronckhorst and you saw the way he spoke to him after the game, it seemed as if he was saying, like, mate, you were better than us today. Like, you probably deserved more. He was very gracious as always. So, Celtic are in a great spot. Hearts is going to be their biggest test of the remaining games, as you say. And hopefully we're going to be talking to Chris McLaughlin of the BBC on tomorrow's show of the Oz Football Hour. He's going to be joining us off the top to talk all about the Old Firm and about another Australian excelling at Celtic. And I'm not talking about Tom Rogic.
Yes, absolutely. We're not going to spoil it because we want you guys to tune in if you haven't been keeping an eye on that. But, certainly one to keep an eye on tomorrow.
I'm going to have to work on my pronunciation before
Yes,
then. It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
It's a big name.
It's a very
big name at Celtic.
Big name. But anyways, Josh, before we go, just a reminder for those listening at home who want to keep an eye on some of the big games in Europe this week. Villarreal play Liverpool on Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. Thursday morning, Real Madrid versus City at 5 a.m. as well. But if you're looking ahead to some of these title races, we mentioned Serie A this week, and that's really the only ones, if we're not talking about the Premier League, that actually has a title race because PSG have won it, Bayern have won it, Madrid have won it. It's really down to Milan and Celtic to make things interesting at the moment. So Milan, they're in action against Hellas Verona on Monday morning. That's shaping up to be easily one of the biggest games of the week. Inter against Empoli as well. Juventus take on Genoa and Napoli against Torino. Those games really, just to maybe keep them honest, the top four is wrapped up in the Serie A as well. So it's all now about seeding and really just
we haven't talked about, Nick. We haven't talked about the Europa League at all.
No.
West Ham 1, Eintracht Frankfurt 2. They conceded in the first minute, West Ham.
Yeah.
But they're still in it. Going away to Germany.
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be pretty
Athos
tough.
is going to be fired up for that one.
And RB Leipzig not polishing off Rangers. So, I mean, it was a tough turnaround for Rangers from the Europa League semi-final to playing Celtic for the title. It's a tough ask, but probably their focus is going to turn to the Europa League this week because they only lost 1-0 against Leipzig, and wouldn't that be a massive upset if they can pull it off?
And they're going back to Ibrox. That's going to be a massive contest.
That place is going to be rocking.
Oh, absolutely. So that's at 5 a.m. Both those fixtures running at the same time. In the Conference League, though, the best of them all.
Oh, God.
Feyenoord, 3-2 winners in the first leg against Marseille. That's going back to Marseille. And Roma Leicester, 1-1. That was at the King Power in the first leg. Now we're going back to the Olympico. That's going to be a fun contest because Roma's been in some good form as of late. They've
actually
started
Master versus the Apprentice? Because Jose Mourinho was at Chelsea when Brendan Rodgers was coming up as a youth coaching assistant.
And also famously, Jose Mourinho went to Anfield when Brendan Rodgers was coach of Liverpool, and there was that famous slip, and there's a bit of something in that one. So will Jose get another one over Brendan Rodgers?
Two of the greats, as well. That's definitely how Brendan Rodgers would describe it. Yeah, going head to head.
And yeah, absolutely. So we'll leave it there for tonight. We're back again next Monday. Obviously, if you missed any of it, head over to Spotify, head over to wherever else you get your podcasts, leave a review, let us know what you want to hear us talk about. Also, a quick shout out to my boys as well, who won League One this weekend. Wigan Athletic promoted back to the championship. You thought that you could get away with a mention. They're back. They're back in the championship. It's an amazing achievement from where they were a year and a half ago. I remember the at-home days, we were talking about just the club surviving. They just survived, new owners. They survived League One last season. They won the league on the final day at Shrewsbury. Will Keane, former Manchester United man, won the Golden Boot, which is quite amazing because you're considering where he was. So congratulations to Wigan Athletic joining Rotherham in the second division next year, and MK Dons didn't get promoted yet, so that's a win for everybody. But anyways, Josh, big show tomorrow, Oz Football Hour, starting from 6
o'clock. We're going to have Chris McLaughlin of the BBC, as I mentioned earlier, and also Ryan Walters of K-League United to talk Asian Champions League. So massive show coming up tomorrow, and I think we'll have Radio Dub as well. So that's immediately following at 7 p.m.
And we'll have no green room this week. If you've been keeping an eye on that, Western United are actually in action on Wednesday against Newcastle. So they'll be back next week for a special finals edition. Plenty of special guests for that one, so keep an eye for next Wednesday. And then, of course, State of Our Football Nation on Thursday, and the Lions Den.
The Lions Den.
Yes, no,
they're back on the winners list, Preston.
We're not talking about the social club at Bulleen. We're talking about the show known as the Lions Den. But anyways,
they're playing Western United on Friday. That's going to be a big one. Second versus fourth in NPL3.
It's the FNR derby, to say the least. But anyways, it's time to say goodbye here on the Euro Show, brought to you by GIS Global Institute of Sport. We'll see you next Monday.
Sometimes I feel, I don't know.
Buona giornata, buona serata, buona giornata.
There's not really time to relax and take an espresso for Juventus.
You thought I forgot about you, didn't you? You thought I forgot about you, didn't you? Attaccare!